Good evening. Okay, I am trying to get through doing a little video explanation of an article that came out that too many people had been asking for a while, so we finally got to it. And it's about just some things to think about when we decide when we're going to take our early retirement from Social Security. Early versus regular versus delayed. So bear with me. I'm going to scroll through the article. I'm going to share it on the screen. I hope it turns out okay. Um, it is kind of long, so some people can't read that long. So let me get to sharing it, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. Okay, hopefully you can see what I'm saying. This is on the blog, on the website. Joy Disability. Okay, so the title of the article, Retire at 62 or 70, huge difference in Social Security benefits. Okay, so yeah, the when you decide to file can make a huge difference in the rest of your life. This may not apply to the millionaires out there or the super wealthy, but for the rest of us, it's kind of a big deal. When the age we are at is the critical factor. So it doesn't matter what time of year per se, but our exact age does matter. And it will affect the amount of monthly income we have for the rest of our lives. Note that when we collect retirement before our full retirement age, which right now is 60 for most people approaching. In fact, I'd say everyone born after 1960. Those born before had something between 65 and 67. It used to be 65 for everybody, and then years ago, they changed it, obviously, to save money by raising the normal retirement age. Okay, so it is often referred to as a penalty by people. They don't understand that it's not a penalty they're getting for taking it early. They're just paying for what they're taking. I mean, it's a choice. So that's what this little blurb is about. You can choose to take 60 extra monthly payments if you take it 62 instead of 67, but that's got to, money doesn't fall off trees, right? So basically, the way I visualize it, if they anticipated your payments going to 80 or whatever full retirement age is, it might even be less than that, and did the calculations based on that, that would be starting at age 67. Now you want to take extra. That amount of money in there has to be spread out, right? Now, of course, if you live past 78 or 80, your benefits continue. That's the risk that the insurance program takes, right? And of course, if we pass away before life expectancy, say, then we may not have made the choice that would bring us in the most dollars overall. But that shouldn't really be the end of story. So let's go on, and I'll let you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so someone who takes more payments because they want to start them earlier is going to be paying for that, him or herself. It's going to be coming off their benefit amount. That's why they get a reduced amount. Down here, I'm talking about a little tip just to remind people that you can't even take early retirement if you're still working full time for the most part, unless you're getting paid very minimum wage. And I'm not talking about the $15 an hour minimum wage that some are hoping for. It is several, I would say, I haven't looked it up lately, high teens of thousands you can make and still be considered an early retiree and collect your benefits. If you're making more than the threshold, and I have a little link here so you can go check out what that is. If you're making more than that, then you're not considered retired and you're not entitled to early retirement. Okay. Alrighty. And by the way, if you start working and earning after you've filed, and you're working too much, you're going to get a notice that you've been overpaid and you're going to have to pay it back. So kind of want to avoid that maybe, as a general rule anyway. And this is just a reminder that you do pay for your own early retirement. You're not getting off on the neighbors or the guys, in a different town or a different state. It is literally coming from your benefits. Okay, so early retirement is when you're starting to collect your Social Security retirement insurance benefits before your full retirement age. Full retirement age, also known as FRA, is also called normal retirement age, NRA. There's a link here so you can learn what your FRA is if you're not sure. But again, if it's I think if you're born after 1960, your FRA is going to be 67. There are lots of reasons why people choose to take early retirement. And there's no bad or right answer or reason or decision generally. Although one that I think is really unfortunate is when it's a inaccurate reason as the choice, and then they come to regret it. So the big myth that I've heard a lot of people say is, yeah, I'm collecting at, I collected at 62, now I'm 65, and in 66 and a half, I get to full retirement age and my insurance retirement benefit is going to bounce up to what it should have been. No. It's never going to bounce up for that reason. So let that be known, because I see too many people take it thinking they're getting one over, making a wise financial choice. And then they find out that they're going to be living on that reduced amount for the rest of their days, and they're not happy. There are many other reasons why people take early retirement. Many of them are unfortunate reasons, but needed. I mean, we all have our personal stories, right? So some of the undeniable reasons I see people taking early, probably the number one, the most frequent one I see is poor health. The person can't work full-time anymore and they stop. And they can't live, they're either working part-time or they're not working at all, and they can't afford to pay their bills. So they will file for, that's probably the most frequent, they will file for early retirement. Just a little reminder here that if you are 62, 63, 64, maybe 65, and you file for early retirement because of this poor health situation, you just can't keep going, I would really suggest you talk to a Social Security disability lawyer about filing for disability. You can do both. There is a little risk to filing for retirement, early retirement, because if you're relying on it, on you winning your Social Security disability and the early retirement, then flipping retroactively to disability and eliminating that reduction that you've otherwise have been and will be subjected to. The risk is if you don't win your disability case and you took the early retirement, you're still stuck with it as if you didn't file for disability. So, but filing for disability isn't going to ever be a negative. So I would say consider doing it if you had to cut down to work that was very part-time, or altogether stopped working. And it's because of health reasons, like you just couldn't do it anymore. If you need to know more about that, definitely give me a call and I'll go over it with you. Another reason people cut out and run early, longevity. They don't think they're going to make it to 67 or 70 or 80 or 90. And if you don't take it, use it or lose it, they're not going to ever have had the benefit of it. I get that one. It's not going to be the way I'm probably going to go, but I totally get it. Sometimes it might be a genes thing. They have a family genetic thing where people just seem to not be living very long, family history. And they think that's going to probably be their end also. It may or may not. So whether you want to take that risk and assume it is something that when you see the rest of what we talk about, you might decide, you know what, I'm not going to. Or you might decide, heck yes, I am. I want to live it now. Caretaker. I don't see this as much, but I do see it. If our spouse, let's say we have two working people and one spouse, it could be a spouse, it could be a child, it could be a parent, needs a caretaker at home because something's happened to them and they can't be left alone, but they don't need to be in a skilled nursing facility, or you don't want to put them in a nursing home and you don't have to because they don't need that kind of care. It is not rare for a person to quit their job to take care of their loved one, and they need the money, so they file for early retirement. I have a little parentheses here that there are some in some places, and I know I have them around me. I don't know much about them though, but I've had a few clients who did that kind of work before it was no longer available, and they were disabled from working a regular full-time job. And they got paid by this program to take care of the loved one. If you think about it, it's a win-win. The loved one is not going into a nursing home at the cost of $5,000, $10,000 or more to the state or to the Medicaid system. And they get to stay at home, and the caretaker gets to know that they took care of them and didn't have them in a home and doesn't starve at the same time. So something to think about. Bottom line is it's usually basically a financial need or a want. Sometimes the wealthier people will take it earlier because they can. They don't have to rely on Social Security later. They have so much other retirement income. It could be 401ks or pensions or an inheritance. So it's either a need or a lack of need. More often it's probably basic survival or a slightly better standard of living that they want to have now than they wouldn't be if they didn't take the early retirement. And that's usually if they're not working at all. Okay, so that's the early retirement reasons we see mostly. And then there's the group of people that decide to file for retirement at their FRA or later. Later is the delayed or deferred retirement. That is anytime after your FRA and before or up to age 70. At age 70, there is no point in waiting any longer. Between 67 and 70, there is a point, and that is that your benefit amount is going to grow beyond what it was if you took it at full retirement age, and quite a bit more. We'll show you some of that down below. So a lot of times if people are still working full time, they're like, well, I'm just going to wait till 70, and then, you know, reap that far bigger monthly income later. Again, after 70, there's no point. It's not going to continue to grow. And you can't retroactively, if you forget to file and you're 75 and you file, they're not going to pay you back the last 5 years that you forgot to file. Okay, so don't do that. All right, so I thought a great way to look at this was to look at a case study. This is Margaret. Margaret gave permission for me to use her information. Let's see. Okay, so here's her annual Social Security earnings statement. You can get yours by going to ssa.gov/my-account and downloading it. It's linked in there. It's a PDF. If you're in the middle of a disability claim, they might not let you get it. They may not have it up there for you to take down. I don't know why. I would suggest if you're going to file for disability, download this first, whether you're heading into retirement or not. Okay, so taking the earliest early retirement. So we're going to call this Margaret 62. Here she is, 62. She gets $1,451 a month for the rest of her life if she takes it at 62. I anecdotally mentioned here that there will be COLA applied. It applies almost every year. It raises it to accommodate inflation. As you can tell, in 2022, we had a very big raise, probably the biggest in 40 years because of our horrible inflation. Other ways that it could change is if she goes back to work or continues to work. And that will depend on the rest of her life history of work and whether that latter work is going to make an impact on the amount of the later benefit or the current benefit. Taking it full retirement age. So if Margaret Fra, we'll call her, waits to 67, her benefit just went up to $2,196 instead of $1,451. It's kind of a big jump, I think. Think about that if you are going to be relying on Social Security as your income to pay rent, pay mortgage, pay cable, pay food. Does that extra, how much is it? $745. That's kind of a lot, right? Just by waiting. Delaying further, if Margaret Fra decides to be Margaret 70, her benefit will now be $2,802 for having waited that long. That's 8 years longer than if she took it 62, and 3 years longer than if she took it 67. So you could see the difference. So this is approximately $2,200. She made over a $600 increase by waiting 3 years. Just something to think about. And the amount over waiting the full 8 is $1,351 more than if she took it 62. So you can have Margaret 62, Margaret Fra, Margaret 70. And if they had the same exact work history, earning the same amount of money, same person, this is what they're going to be living on depending on when they decide to take. Personally, I like this one the best. I just do. Okay. Again, I reiterate that waiting after 70 to take it, Margaret 70 should not be waiting to be Margaret 71. She should take it 70, no later. I have here an example of if you retire early, but not as early as 62, but maybe you do 1 year of waiting to get closer to full retirement age and you file at 63. This can happen. Someone doesn't ever plan to file early and they didn't file at 62, but then something happened in life, family, health, whatever it is, and now they're filing at 63. So we don't know what life's going to bring us, right? So just taking a look at that, you can see she's not going to get the 2196 she'd get if she waited to full retirement age. And it'll be far reduced off that for not waiting till her FRA, but the reduction is not going to be as big as it was if she took it 62. So we go down and do the math, and you can see at 63, she'd be getting $15.72 instead of $14.51. That's $121 difference. So depending on how important that $121 is, which is also, I think, $1,452 or something per year extra, that will be what she'll have to think about, whether you want to get the 121 or just take it 62. If you look at it on a bigger scale, if she waits the 1 year, then every 5 years she's pulling in an extra over $7,000. Again, depends on how important that later income is. Okay, but this does of course come at a cost, because remember, if you wait till 63 and you gave up a whole year of taking that 62 amount, that's $17,412, right? So instead, she didn't collect this year times 12, she waited to here. So she forfeited, is what I call it, forwent $17,000 plus. How long will that take her to get that back? Now, when she does start collecting, she will automatically be collecting more than she would have been by about $121 a month. When you do the math, here's the math, folks. It's going to take 144 months or 12 years of an extra $121 a month to break even. Some people, it's really important. They want to know how long till I get back at the system for, to break even. It's not my thing, because my big thing is how much am I going to get per month when I have to actually live on it, when I'm dependent on it. It's something that just is part of my makeup, that I need to know that. I'm willing to give up this for that, but not everybody is. And some people really want to know when, and they want to know when their 12 years are up so they can go celebrate. I get it. Not my thing, but I do get it. Of course, for those 12 years while she's recouping, she is getting that higher amount because she did wait. So she's having a slightly better quality of life financially by $121 a month. She will be all recouped by age 75, and she will continue to collect her 121 extra a month, or 7,000 something a year, compared to if she took it 62. Okay. This is just the idea that runs through my head that I think I just reiterated, but it's noted here. Does the amount per month make a notable difference to basic living later, when one can't work even if one wanted to? So you might be looking at that rainy day in the future when you're not going to be able to work, and what can you live on? Will your house be paid off by then? Hopefully. You want to make sure that the money you have from all of your sources, and if it's just Social Security, this is A1 critical, is it going to cover those expenses? Or will you need to be downsizing to something that you will be able to afford on that Social Security? Okay, so if you're waiting till FRA, the same idea applies for those that choose to wait to the full retirement age. And of course, you could pick 63, 64, 65, 66 up to FRA. You can do anything in between, and that extra you're getting over the age 62 amount will be slightly more. And you can actually see those amounts right here. Just do the subtraction, okay? On your own form, of course. That's Margaret's form. Okay, so waiting to FRA, as we said before, she's getting $745 more per month forever than if she took it 62. But of course, the choice is going to cost her because she will have forfeited 5 years of those otherwise early retirement benefits, unlike Margaret 62. So she forfeited, here's the math, 5 years times 12 months per year times the 1451, that would have been the 62 amount that she would have been collecting per month. That's $87,000 and change that she forfeited in those 5 years by not taking early. So how long, starting when she does take it at 67, will Margaret overcome the amount she forfeited? When will she get that $87,000 back? Okay, recoupment. Well, she gets, what do we say she gets? The $745 more per month. So to gain back the 87, given that raise of 745, 87,000, 117 months, or about 9.7 years. So notice that she's recouping hers in less years than it took her younger counterpart, Margaret 63, to recoup that 1 year she gave up. And that's because she's getting so much more per month now to help go towards that. So she's going to be 67 years old plus 9.7, 76.7 years of age approximately when she has beat the odds or recouped that amount she didn't take. And keep in mind, for all those nearly 10 years, she is collecting an extra $745 per month because she waited. So again, that goes towards her quality of living for all those years when she's retired, finally retired. Let's see. I just give a little more, verbiage there. And note that she at FRA would be getting $624 per month over what Margaret 63 would have gotten had she taken at 63. $745 more than Margaret 62, $624 over Margaret 63. Just so you can see the differences. Here's another thing. At $745 a month that Margaret FRA is taking because she waited till her full retirement age, she's collecting almost $9,000 more than Margaret 62 every year. Each 5 years, then she's collecting almost $45,000 a year that she would not be collecting if she became Margaret 62. So, I like to point out that Margaret FRA probably has more choices than her earlier counterparts, Margaret 62, 63, and so on. Some describe a decision to wait as being a way to accumulate some wealth that they couldn't accumulate when they were younger. Some want to accumulate it, some want to spend it now and enjoy, go on trips. That's all good if they can afford, like if it's excess because they waited so long. And others just like to make a tidy little legacy of it for one of their loved ones, maybe something to give them a head start in life, or some college fund, whatever. All very personal, but it's things to think about when you decide what you want to do. And I always point out, if this is survival money, this Social Security money, which it is probably for most Americans, Margaret FRA is living on almost $2,200 a month, while Margaret 62, her best friend, is living on $1,451 a month, simply because of the wait. Margaret FRA was a little more patient with getting to retirement than Margaret 62. Okay, now we have opting for delayed retirement. Okay, so this is for those that are willing and able to delay collecting their Social Security until age 70, the maximum beyond which there would be no purpose and there'd be nothing to gain by waiting in terms of benefits. So see here, Margaret 70, if she waits till 70, will collect $2,802 before COLAs per month starting at age 70. If you look at that, that is almost double what Margaret 62 is collecting. So had she taken it 62, she'd almost have half that, right? She's nearly doubling her monthly income by waiting those 8 years. So again, if you're vibrant, working, something to consider. Assuming you don't hate your job, there's so many considerations. what is the forfeit that Margaret 70 has given up for all those 8 years? It's pretty significant. She gave up almost $140,000 that she would have collected had she done what Margaret 62 did. But I take a guess that Margaret 62 didn't save that 140. So by the time Margaret 62 is 70, she's got nothing to show for it. And she's living on $1,400 a month instead of $2,800 a month. Just saying. Can you see the way I lean? But it's definitely everyone's personal decision. I just worry about everybody. Okay, so she is making $1,351 more. Hopefully my math is right. I caught some mistakes before. Than what she would have taken if she am I saying that right? Yeah, $1,351 more per month than the age 62 amount she would have been taking. Every month she's got $1,300 more to spend. That's a lot, isn't it? Let's see. I don't want to just be too redundant here. How long, if she cares about how long it will take to recoup the 140,000, it will take her a little over 103 months to, at the 1,351 extra per month she's taking in, to recoup that 139K forfeit. That is 8.6 years. As you can see, she's recouping it faster than her counterparts. Of course, she's starting it later, so she's going to be older. So she is 78.6 years old. When she's recouped everything back and she's even Steven in that regard, that's only a few months older than the younger Margaret, who was going to be 76, 77, 78, 76, I think, 77. So it's not that much longer that she's collecting that bigger amount the whole time she's waiting to recoup, for those that recoupment is important for. So at 78.6, it's all gravy, and she is collecting did I say this already? 8,900 more than Margaret 62. Yeah. Per year. I'll have to go back and look at that. But every 5 years, Margaret 70 is collecting $81,000 more than Margaret 62, her buddy, simply because she took 8 years later. Just saying. That'd be a nice little nest egg. That'd be a great, like, you could go on multiple travel trips if you're a traveler. Eat out all the time. Just so many things you can do other than save it if you're not a saver or you don't really care to leave it to anybody. So, what's your choice going to be? Are you going to collect it early, collect it now, take it and run and be stuck with the lower amount? Or are you going to wait and hope to live long enough to see it, but then be living with a higher income per month than otherwise? So everyone has to decide. I throw in here a couple things you got to think about: taxes. If you're working and you want to collect early retirement, you're probably going to find that you're taxed on your Social Security. You got to look into those rules. Combined income is what they base it on. Certainly, even if you're working full time and you hit your FRA, putting in that extra 30, 40,000 a year on top of your full-time working income might very well pop you into a higher tax bracket. So you're actually giving back some of your Social Security that you might not be later when you don't have that working income. So you might want to just a thought, do the math. And dependents. This one's kind of a biggie. If you have dependents that could collect a Social Security dependent benefit, auxiliary benefit off of your work record, if you file for retirement or disability and prevail, once you're entitled or you pass away, any dependents under the rules can now collect or file and then collect. Some people, let's say you are a 62-year-old with twins, 2-year-old twins. The dependent benefit could be 50 to 80% of what your benefit is. So you'd be collecting yours, and that would be an extra 50 to 80% on top of it coming into the household. something to think about. Do you need that? Do your dependents need it? Do you need it to keep a roof over their head? You won't get that later. You only get it while they're a dependent. So, which would be a reason perhaps why you might not make that a reason to file for early retirement, if that's the only reason. If you have a 17-year-old who might get 1 year of dependent benefits, because is it really necessarily worth taking the early retirement forever for that guy to get 1 year? Another thing, it's not mentioned here, I don't think. If you have a spouse and one of your goals is that she would probably be collecting, if she or he would be collecting a survivor benefit when you passed away. As a married couple, your lower earning spouse can get 100% of your benefit if she becomes a beneficiary. It would be 100% if she collected at her full retirement age. But if you had worked until 70, she actually gets 100% of your age 70 amount. So she's not stuck with your primary insurance amount at age 67 if you delayed. So that's kind of a big thing. If she's going to be, because people have to remember, when two married people are collecting Social Security retirement and one passes, so does the second benefit. There's only one benefit left for the survivor. So if you want your surviving spouse, and if your benefit is going to be the one that they will be relying on when you're gone, as opposed to theirs. I mean, widows and widowers lose their home because they don't realize that their Social Security income is going to be cut in half or somewhere thereabouts. So if you can, if yours is $3,000 a month and your spouse's is $2,000 a month, and you pass away, she'll get your $3,000. If yours would have been $4,500, I'm just pulling numbers out. Had you waited till 70, she'd be living on $4,500 instead of the $3,000. And remember, together you were living on the $5,000. So it might be a little easier for her to survive with the $4,500 than the $3,000 you would otherwise leave her if you collected at FRA, or less. Okay, so those dependent issues are something to think about. You also want to look into, if you found you made a mistake, you applied and you made a mistake, you can withdraw your application for retirement benefits within 1 year of having, so they're collected or applied. I'd like to think it's collected, but you have to pay back all the benefits you took out, obviously. And you can only do that once, and it's got to be within a year. Another alternative, if you made a mistake, is suspending your filing. If you suspend that, all your dependents who are collecting, if any, will also be suspended. And I believe you can only suspend once you hit full retirement age. So if you took it 62, you got to suck it up till 67 to suspend from 67 to 70. That can help you recoup some of those reductions that you embraced before, not realizing you didn't want to have them later. One other thing you can do potentially is go back to work. If you took early retirement and you regret it, go back to work, make more than the amount you're allowed to, so that all of it is owed back, and that will erase the reduction. Now, granted, they're going to take that. If you can't pay that money back, which you probably can't if you've been spending it, maybe you can over time. If not, they will take it off of the benefits when you do hit full retirement age, and don't suspend and want to collect, or wait till 70 if you do suspend. So all these things can come into play where you can have your benefit rate pop back up a little bit, but you're gonna have to go through some painful motions to get there. So all things to think about, and why you really need to think about it before you start it. Okay, any questions, you know how to reach me. I hope that helps get through that article. Anyway, I will see you all later.